Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It's Sunday, the 28th of December. This year is Toast. Got a great show for everybody tonight, holy smokes. And we're going to audit the March the 14th press conference from Japan, which is 3 days after the tsunami. So it's a really interesting video. And we're going to start it off with a song I call Atomic Playboy. I put a link in the description a few minutes ago, and I'll see you right after this.
Once through cooling, open intake. Cold water pulled straight from the lake. Heat rejected directly to the base, and no closed loop in the design. Flow rate set as a steady input. Depth assumed to hold its shape. The model held because the boundary was never treated as a constraint. Condenser water left the turbine hot, returned directly to the lake. Discharge temperature held under limit as long as mixing carried it away. Chlorine fed into the intake line. Pumps work harder to hold demand. Each season narrowed the conditions that once was held as a given. Built for conditions that no longer hold. Warmer water, invasive muscles in the pipes. But once ran clean, now needs intervention. Still carried forward by sunk expense. Atomic Playboy, built on assumption. Atomic Playboy, leaning on the lake. Atomic Playboy, clogged at the intake. Atomic Playboy, prestige kept in play. Larvae carried in with intake velocity. Hard shells fixed along the line. Colonies forming where flow stays narrow. Living low, the model missed. Colonization followed the structure, layer by layer, year by year. While control spread through process and permit, something else was settling here. Built for conditions that no longer hold. Warmer water, invasive muscles in the pipe. What once ran clean now needs intervention. Still carried forward by sunk expense. Atomic Playboy, built on assumption.
Oops. We'll get back on track here in a second. I was expecting the hyperlink code.
Structure, layer by layer, year by year. Wow.
I'm smurfing this.
Control spread through process and permit. Something else was settling here. Built for conditions that no longer hold. Warmer water, invasive muscles in the pipe. What once ran clean now needs intervention. Still carried forward by sunk expense. Atomic Playboy, built on assumption. Atomic Playboy, leaning on the lake. Atomic Playboy, plugged at the intake. Atomic Playboy, prestige kept in play. Built on water, treated as forever. Confident enough to look away. The largest system in the room yielded to what filtered through the grate. Atomic Playboy, trip the distance. Enough signal strong enough to interrupt. Atomic Playboy, just intake pipe filling quietly. What lives here sets the stars.
All right. I smurfed it up. My apologies to everybody. We got a silly amount of work to get through. And Point Beach nuclear plant Let me see if I can figure out what that's all about. Wisconsin on the operating plant. Apparently it's got a problem with its water intake. Or I'm not sure what's going on there. It caught me off guard, unfortunately. That's all right. Let's get after it. So we're going to take you back. Now that's, you'll find it in my playlist, Anti-Nuclear Music. I just put it there for you. And links are in the description. Hello, everybody. It's a great beat, eh? That's a classic, that one for sure. Here we go. Just get after the madness. I got some madness to get through tonight, oh my goodness. It's a good thing. Did the nuclear industry worldwide conspire on March the 14th, 2011, day 3, to hide the loss of the Fukushima fuel pools at Reactor 3, the plutonium mixed oxide reactor? All right. Whoever said my job was easy is insane. Well, I guess not really. It is easy, actually, for me. That's the sad thing about what we're doing. We've been doing it for so long, it's actually easy. It takes time. This is a worthy video. Now, I have a whack of these videos. I mean, I have, like, holy shit, load of them. Situation at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power station. So I downloaded all of them several years back. Well, more than that, probably. This is FPC Japan, the Foreign Press Club, or the Foreign Press Center, is it? I think. Yeah, the Foreign Press Center. You'll see it in the background. Put links below to the video, so you'll know if I omitted anything per se. These are complicated stories, and that's why we exist, because we love stuff like that. What we're going to do is, if we catch them telling a lie, we'll try to provide with the documentation and keep moving, because there's so many of those absolute deception. They covered it up. You can see it on March the 14th. So to link you over for more information, of course, whenever you go to these links, they can't be found. There they are. Cut your throat, steal a candy out of your pocket to give to their own kid in a heartbeat. All right. So the first part of their presentation is it's actually really important for the next couple of months, because to talk about all the countries that sent people, specialists there to help Japan. Japan never bothered telling them they had multiple nuclear meltdowns. And so he sacrificed all of those people, but yet they're pretending how grateful they are. And you can just tell it looking at them. If you were in a club or a restaurant and you've seen these people sat at a table, it'd be pretty easy. It'd be acceptable to get up and leave. Anyway, here we go. Hang on.
Good evening. Thank you for waiting for a long time. Actually,
long time. Good
we are
time.
still waiting for our colleagues from Nuclear and Industrial Safety Agency.
So they're waiting for their colleagues. These are high-ranking government employees, and their job is to cut your throats.
NISA. And maybe until they arrive, I wish to discuss some of the issues which may not be, directly or technically dealt with in terms of this Fukushima power plants. At the outset, I wish to just explain to you the overall picture of what we have been trying to do at the Prime Minister's office under the leadership of Prime Minister Khan. Immediately after earthquakes took place, Prime Minister organized emergency headquarters consisting of all the ministers, and he has been putting his utmost efforts to rescue those people who are in the affected areas. And as you have seen already, especially by the tsunamis, we have been finding some local municipalities almost wiped out. And this has led to lots of difficulties in finding who are missing or who might be dead by now. So this kind of situation continues even now.
I mean, this is true, what he's talking about. But what their game is to use the tragedy, the tsunami, the victims, the people that were washed away, the people that were put through the wood chipper, the tsunami itself, those communities, like elevate them up in order to cover up the lies and deceit and disgusting betrayal. It raises a lot of questions. Should the industry be allowed to exist? After you watch a number of these, and you will, I just want to itinerate that the hardest thing to do is sit there by yourself and watch all of this. It really is, right? Because there's so much of it. And I'm hoping that as we go through this stuff over the next number of months, because there will be others, we'll be doing different shows, but there'll be a lot of this stuff going on.
So far, we have been mobilizing under the instruction of Prime Minister Khan, self-defense forces over 50,000. And this number is expected to increase up to 100,000 within a week. And this is the largest mobilization of self-defense forces in the history of its creation after the war.
So this is day 3, less than 72 hours in there. And so now's the time you want 100,000, not in a couple of weeks. You want to flood that area with rescuers.
And other mobilization includes Japanese Coast Guard's 168 patrol boats, police agency 3,600, fire and disaster management agency over 1,100. So, and Prime Minister Khan yesterday mentioned that earlier maybe today I mentioned that more than 15,000 people are rescued thanks to the dedicated efforts of those people, in some cases risking their own lives. And there will be probably some explanation from my colleague from Foreign Ministry, but we have been getting a very generous offer of assistance from the international community. And the number has exceeded over 90 countries offering their willingness to extend assistance.
So 90 countries. Now, when they had the recent earthquake in Japan, Shika last year on 24 January 1st, it wouldn't let any country go in there. Apparently, and people didn't get rescued for several weeks. This was on purpose. They had a nuclear reactor event, right? At the Shika plant.
And we are very grateful for this generous offer extended from the over 90 countries. And so far, rescue teams from 13 countries, including South Korea, Singapore, Germany, Switzerland, the United States, China, Mexico, UK, Australia, New Zealand, France, Taiwan, and Russia, started assistance activities. And as you are already aware, U.S. forces in Japan have been mobilized, and aircraft carrier Ronald Reagan has been mobilized to the vicinity of Tohoku. And
the U.S. Navy sailors on the USS Ronald Reagan, our digital watch stopped working when offshore Fukushima. we were laughing at first, but then this was March the 18th. This was a few days later than this video, right? This video was the 14th. This is the 18th. People were defecating from radiation sickness. Like their watches stopped working at the same time from the radioactive fallout. Wrap your mind around that statement. And lots of them have died. Absurd amount of them are catastrophically sick. Kidney failures, dying of lung cancer, renal failure.
U.S. Marines in Okinawa are also on their way to the region. They have their particular strength in terms of coping with this kind of very difficult situation in terms of amphibious situation. And let me also touch upon the economic implications. We are aware of difficulties facing Japanese economy, and of course there are practical issues of how to manage electricity supply in Tohoku and Kanto. And we are calling for reducing the consumption of electricity among the public. And as you have been informed, there are trains that were cancelled this morning in the suburbs of Tokyo, for example. So this is a very challenging situation, but at the same time, this would result in the creation of new demands. Obviously, there will be massive needs for rebuilding and reconstruction, and this is something that we need to be united among the people living in this country, including Japanese and non-Japanese. And again, let me just thank the generous offer, not only from the governments of over 90 foreign countries, but there are lots of goodwill expressed from people all over the world and NGOs as well. So this is my initial comment, and I will just ask my colleagues from Foreign Ministry to see if they have any comments to make at the outset. Thank you.
Thank you. I just would like to add compliment what was stated by Mr. Shikata right now. As Mr. Shikata mentioned, we are very, very grateful for the generous goodwills and expression of solidarity from all over the world. And indeed, many sympathies have been expressed. And so far, for example, Prime Minister Khan had telephone talk with President Obama. And likewise, our Foreign Minister Matsumoto also had telephone talks with his counterpart, Secretary of State, Mrs. Clinton, and also Prime Minister Khan had telephone talk with President Lee Myung-bak of the Republic of Korea, and also with Prime Minister Gillard of Australia. And with respect to Foreign Minister Matsumoto,
the smoke is black, murmured Prime Minister Khan after Reactor 3 exploded. So this happened on the same day that Reactor 3 exploded. Headphones on and off my head is going to be a...
In addition to his telephone talk with Secretary Clinton, he also had telephone talk with Foreign Secretary Haig of the United Kingdom, Secretary of State Clinton, Foreign Minister Rudd of Australia, as well as Foreign Minister Mackley of New Zealand. And the latest information available in front of me with respect to the number of countries which generously extended preparedness to extend assistance is 91. And in addition, a number of international organizations have already expressed their willingness to support the rescue and search operations. For example, I would like to mention ICRC, IOM, which is International Organization for Migration, ITU, OCHA, UNHCR, as well as UNESCO, UNICEF, WFP, and World Bank. So we are very grateful. And I also would like to touch upon some details as to the activities of rescue team which have already arrived in Japan. For example, with respect to the United States, yesterday afternoon, as many as 144 personnel of the rescue team of the USAID, United States International Organization for Development, Authority for Development, arrived in Misawa, together with their rescue dogs, and they are scheduled to head to Ofunato in.
I'd like to see a study on all of those dogs, wouldn't you? Going in there sniffing all the radiation?
Iwate Prefecture this morning. That was the schedule. That had been scheduled. What's going to happen today? And likewise, with respect to Korea, their rescue team arrived yesterday, just afternoon in Hanamaki, and on the same on the afternoon of the same day.
Now, remember, these same countries wanted to send teams on January 1st, 2024, to rescue the victims around the Noto Peninsula, Ishikawa Prefecture. The Noto at the Shika nuclear power plant was isolated, and they claimed they had a earthquake in the basement that maxed out their Shindu scale of 7. The same countries wanted to send help, and they wouldn't let them. They wouldn't let anybody from any other country go there. So they most likely had an event at that fuel pool too. Keep going.
They moved to Sendai to initiate their operation. I understand that they have started their activities from this morning. And with respect to Singaporean rescue team, they have arrived on the date of 12th. Their team consists of 5 members, together with 5 rescue dogs. And they arrived in Narita, and thereafter they have headed for Tajima City. And we understand that they have arrived their destination already. And with respect to German rescue team, they have arrived on the date of 13 yesterday in the early morning in Narita, and they consist of 41 personnel as well as 3 rescue dogs. And we understand that they have already arrived in Miyagi Prefecture to start their activities. And as to the rescue team of Switzerland, the team consists of 27 personnel, and also include as well as a number of rescue dogs, and in addition, we understand that rescue team.
And he doesn't sound very enthusiastic to be there, this guy.
Of Mexico, China, Australia, UK, and New Zealand have already arrived, and we understand that additional rescue teams are scheduled to arrive today from, for example, New Zealand, France, and some others. That's all.
Yeah, thank goodness. Now, when she starts talking, which is right away coming up, that's when the fun starts. Now, like the radioactive, for those who are not aware, the radioactive fallout is already documented in North America. They knew what was happening, and as we start to get through this, I show you pictures, you'll understand it a lot more, right? Like they couldn't do nothing at the reactor. They're on the other side of the turbine buildings on the ocean side. The reactors need 4,500 tons a minute. That thing sprays about 300 tons a day. So the idea was to give you the illusion that they had it under control, but the building was already gone on the 14th.
At this point in time, thank you.
Yes.
Here we go.
And I will
Takes a
brief
few
you
minutes,
on the latest development
Number 3, she's
on the
going to
nuclear
concentrate
power
on.
plants. Probably many of you are already aware that after the Unit 1 of the Fukushima Daiichi power plant, which had a hydrogen explosion on Saturday, on 12th, there was an explosion earlier today at around 11:01 at unit number 3.
Unit number 3. Did the nuclear industry worldwide conspire March the 14th, that's the same day as that video, to hide the loss of Reactor 3 fuel pools? There's 2 fuel pools at the top of the buildings. I'll show you what's up with that in a minute. They confirmed, officials confirmed explosion. That story was most likely about her that we were just looking at. That was the press conference they were referring to in that story. This is the explosion. You're actually entire nuclear core, which is underneath the fuel pools. So in order for the reactor core to be ejected out of the building, the fuel pools also had to be ejected out of the buildings. I'll show you a video of it, actually. Maybe I can turn that. AP journalists feel a massive explosion at the number 3 nuclear plant from 25 miles away. 25 miles away, they felt this explosion. So this is slower motion in real time, but you're going to see big chunks falling back down and disintegrating, some of them as they're falling. That's the fuel pools in the reactor core ejected right out of the building. So you're looking at approximately 9 reactor cores. And we'll play some of that information
of
in a bit.
the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant. we understand that taking into the situation of today's explosion at unit number 3, that explosion today was probably similar to the one that occurred at unit 1 on Saturday.
And okay, I'll show you the one on Saturday, which was reactor 1. That's what she started off with. And this was the actual explosion of reactor 1. Just there you go. That's probably a bit better. I'll turn it up on the equalizer. Okay, so that was the explosion of number 1. Back to number 3. This was a plutonium mixed oxide reactor. This is a plutonium, what they call a MOX fuel reactor. This is reclaimed uranium, reclaimed plutonium. So that's reactor 3. On the 16th, 2 days after this video, and we're going to cover that press conference next week of reactor 4. This interview with Frank von Hippel was a government official. He was the liaison for the White House or something. Don't quote me exactly, but a high-ranking government, American government, talking about how many reactor cores were at the top of reactor 4. Reactor 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 reactors were all identical reactors. So they have the exact same schematics, designs, color coding, everything's identical.
And if, in terms of what we know about the capacity...
So March the 16th, he's asked, what's the capacity of the fuel pools at the top of the buildings? So it's roughly 5.5 reactor cores a decade goes into the fuel pool, depending, because sometimes you're changing a lot quicker. It's about 1/3 every 12, 14 months of the reactor core comes through. Remember, that's splitting atoms into your community. There's no containment now. And you can't contain it. So he's going to tell her around 8 reactor cores, and I'll agree with that because we know how it works.
Right? About how many fuel rods would likely be inside that reactor? What sort of quantity are we talking about radioactivity?
I've heard different numbers ranging from 2 to 15 reactor cores worth. No, 2 to about 8 reactor cores worth.
So if it can't be controlled, that's worst case scenario, 8 reactors worth of radioactivity.
Right. Right.
And it would be released into the atmosphere.
By the way, the fact that this has happened at unit number 4 is understandable and is consistent with the theory that it really did dry out because the fuel from the unit number 4 was most recently discharged, and therefore was the hottest, and therefore the water would have boiled off more rapidly.
And you're going to see lots of pictures of this coming up of these reactors.
That is to say, a hydrogen explosion.
So this is not a hydrogen explosion. There I am. That was weird. Try this again. Oh, I'll be damned. So this was a pressurized explosion. Just watch reactor 3 again. There's a little flash, but that's it, right? So this reactors need 4,500 tons of water to keep cool a day when they're in their active mode. These were running And so over 24 hours, so think of a 1 ton as a 1 ton pickup truck. Think about 4,500 1 ton pickup trucks going past your house every minute, 70 a second. And your car is on the other side of the road. And so this goes on all day long, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for all reactors. And a glass of water, by the way, would have 1 billion creatures per glass of seawater. Used to. That don't exist anymore post-Fukushima. And it's going to kill every one of those creatures typically, but it jumped the shark, so to speak, with multiple nuclear. So you're looking at around 36 reactor cores at the top of the buildings. That's what he's telling you there. Because these are over 3 decades at that stage, right? And so 36 reactor cores is what's at stake here. Just hang with me. Actually, let me bring up a picture. And there's a lot going on trying to tell this story. And so I simplified a lot of my assertions, right? So do you think that these 4 reporters, there's many more that have done the same thing, who are saying they're at the top of that building or at the top of that building? That's reactor 4. So when I asked you in the poll, did the entire planet conspire? The nuclear industry worldwide is basically all the governments, the pro-nuclear governments. March the 14th, 2011, to hide the loss of Fukushima Reactor 3 fuel pool. In order for this law here to work, all your universities, all your medias, all of them have been captured and are going to play along with the story. Because if any major media called out these people, said, wait a second, they're not at the top of that building, imagine the controversy that would take place, right? So they're working together, for sure. And the UN is organizing everything, the International Atomic Energy Agency, IRPA, UNSCLEAR, the IPRC, et cetera, These are all UN. And UN is 195 militaries, 195 countries.
Of the Fukushima Daiichi.
Okay, let's go backwards 1 second. So the hydrogen explosion she talked about was a pressure explosion. I kind of digress. So you're looking at water. Think of a 1 ton as a 1 ton pickup truck. You need 6,450,000 1 ton pickup trucks of water every 24 hours. Each pickup truck with 1,000 liters, 1 ton of water, has to go through the reactor. Think about that for the duration of any of these topics, because that's what the reactor is dependent upon. When you don't have that, pressure builds up. And when the pressure builds up, of course, what's going to happen? Yeah. This is not hydrogen. Yes, hydrogen is real. Hydrogen can do the same thing, but it's not hydrogen, it's pressure. And then, because the hydrogen exists, when the pressure finally blows, you need, once you isolate hydrogen, you introduce oxygen and it'll detonate. So it's a complicated subject, but we'll
that is to say a hydrogen explosion.
No, it was this is not a hydrogen explosion. None of them were. They were pressure explosions because they were hot reactors. And they didn't get the enormous amount of water, right, that is necessary for them to not do that.
However, after this happened, there was a report from the people on the ground.
Let me do it again.
However, after this happened, there was a report from the people on the ground that the containment vessel continues to be containing.
So just said that reactor 3 is contained. The reactor cores is almost at the top of the building, and the reactor fuel pools at the top of the building. That's reactor 3 on the 14th, the same day. That's the explosion. And after the explosion, she sat there and started telling people these terrible misrepresentations, lies.
Activities inside as a sign of such continuation, the situation, particularly the result of the monitoring of any radioactive materials in the site or around that place has not shown any particular increase after this has happened.
She's ruthless, eh? I got to grab something to use because everything looks the kind of same. So if I put this picture here, which was reactor 3, was reactor 4. So she's saying when this happened, this explosion, this is the reactor core and the fuel pools ejected right out of the building. There was no increased radiation anywhere on site. There's lethal doses everywhere. Your organs will melt immediately. If they fly you in a helicopter, you'll crash because the helicopter pilot will die right away. His organs will melt. If you're in that environment, you're a dead duck. And you had a tsunami run through the site. So you can't just run away. And you see how big that explosion was. So that's insane to suggest that there was no increase in radiation. So this is madness. But the idea was to keep that lie alive, and then today they're claiming they got all the fuel out of the building, there was nothing got out of the building. It was equal to 3 grams of sugar.
Also, the pressure level within the containment vessel has not shown any significant change after this has happened earlier today.
So there was no change in the pressure. Now the vessel is at the top of the building. These were 19-story, 65-meter, 190-foot tall buildings. The reactor cores and the fuel pools are at the top floor. The reactor is slightly below the top floor, but in order to take the fuel out of the reactor, it has to be underwater the whole time, and so it's within line of the fuel pools itself. Right? There's a gate that's actually just held together by inflation, by oxygen, by bladders. And when they're transferring fuel, they would take the air out of the bladder, swing the gate out of the way, and then they can transfer fuel underwater into the fuel pools. Now, the original idea was to have one pool was dedicated to recent fuel. And then you didn't move it over to the so-called storage pool, which, why would you do that? Put them at the top of the building in the first place. And because if you have an issue, everything goes. And you're talking about 9 reactor cores. Now, each reactor core is pure uranium, pure plutonium. Chernobyl was a small reactor. It was a new reactor. It didn't have fuel pools in the building. It didn't have time to accumulate any fuel on top of it. These were 30 years old. Chernobyl was a graphite reactor. So each of the reactor cores, not the total cores, but each one was equal to about 100 Chernobyls, because Chernobyl was a graphite. These were plutonium, uranium. And so each building could have had a capacity, realistically, and particularly because this one is mixed oxide fuel is even more worse and more toxic. Remember, these buildings are 2 billion times, these emissions are 2 billion times more toxic than industrial poison.
And also, there was a report in the afternoon that the level of water in the unit number 2 of the Fukushima Daiichi power plant began to decrease, and the preparation is made to put more water into Unit 2, possibly including seawater.
It never stops, does it? Reactor 1 detonated on the one side of Reactor 2. On the other side of Reactor 2 was the Medusa, Reactor 3, we just showed you, exploded. Do you really think they're going to go... that you could actually go near any of the buildings, let alone... If one of these buildings blew up, you can't get near the others. Your organs melt within a few minutes. It's non-survivable. And talking about the water, unprecedented phenomenon from using salt water in Fukushima. Well, not using it in the reactors, but spraying it at the reactors is more appropriate. And what happens is that there's a sulfur peroxide hydrogen buckyball effect. You knew about this in the 50s when they were doing ocean testing. Enormous temperatures will liberate the sulfur from the water. The sulfur forms a spherical shape, which is capable of ingesting uranium, plutonium, americium, neptunium, strontium, becoming a vessel, and it's very mobile. It doesn't need jet streams to circle the planet. It's very powerful, and it'll trigger a catastrophic illness when it's sequestered in your muscles, your organs, or your bones. Now, you have multiple reactors exploding on both sides, and fuel pools. It's 16 reactor cores disappear. You had a tsunami that come through the site, which means the site was nothing was functional. So imagine this was your property and this happened. You wouldn't have to wait till it went away to understand that the property was no longer functional, right? It was over 1,000 kilometers of the coastline was stripped. It was 2,000 square miles debris field the following year in the Pacific Ocean, the size of Texas. 2,000 square miles of debris. It ripped out all the infrastructure, all the telephone poles. Like, put it this way, you couldn't plug an extension cord in for over 1,000 kilometers.
And as for the evacuation around the Fukushima Daiichi power plant, the 20-kilometer radius areas evacuation has been declared. At the time of the incident happened earlier today at unit number 3, there were still people within this 20-kilometer radius, and for those people, temporarily, they were requested to stay indoors instead.
Now, we done an audit of Harvard. Just let me bring that up very quick for you. If you go to my playlist, we audited at Harvard, Stanford, and MIT University's presentation post-Fukushima. And then I provided the same as I'm doing tonight, the documentation for my assertions that they were either blatantly lying to you or blatantly lying to you. Harvard University was talking about lethal doses 10 kilometers away from the site, lethal doses. So the idea of the evacuation was you have these lethal doses, they know this is going to happen, coming through these communities. That's why they're still abandoned today, many of these communities. If you ended up with a community with a whole bunch of dead bodies, as we've seen up the Tetra River, right up, during the Soviet Union time, that would be the death knell of the nuclear industry, right? That would be a death blow to that industry. They don't care about you. They don't care about anything. They don't care about life. They don't care about birds or puppies or... unless you can use it for radiation experiments. They do that an awful lot, don't they? Hang on. A Geiger counter is not straight, and it must irk the daylights out of you because it's doing that to me. That's real time. The second explosion was more like a bomb. Spent nuclear fuel, flew 30 kilometers away. So this is lethal dose stuff. Pellets collected by the military, because that's the only people with the technology to find it without getting lethal necessary, even though they don't care either. Very strange material was found, should have evacuated out to 300 kilometers. Journal Tribune, Lessons from Fukushima. That's an incredible assertion that is 100% accurate, by the way.
Of going outside of a 20-kilometer radius, but that request for stay in the in-house has been released at 1420. So now we are in the process of again moving people out of the 20-kilometer radius evacuation zone. And as for the unit number 2, we understand that the situation has been, or the level of the water has not been decreasing compared to number 1 and number 3 up until today. However, there is now the decreasing of the water in Unit 2, for which efforts.
Now, see, they can't, there's no way to know what the water is doing. But there's no way, because there's no power. You're talking about there's no infrastructure. Everything was torn apart by a tsunami, not just at the nuclear plant, but the whole coast for 1,000 kilometers. Well, it's more than that. So, like, if you're on the other side of the turbine building, on the ocean side, and the reactors are on the other side, and you're doing this feeble attempt to, because they don't know any better. They're treating it like a house fire or something, only that's lethal doses. How are you going to get to the building? How are you going to discover? You're between 2 nuclear meltdowns that lost 9 reactor cores minimum each. How are you supposed to know if the water is this or the water is that, right? I'll do that again.
Of going outside of a 20-kilometer radius, but that request for stay in the in-house has been released at 1420. So now we are in the process of again moving people out of the 20-kilometer radius evacuation zone. And as for the unit number 2, we understand that the situation has been, or the level of the water has not been decreasing compared to number 1 and number 3 up until today. However, there is now the decreasing of the water in Unit 2.
Well, like, they can't physically find it, but they can extrapolate that, right? But she's not being honest or sincere in her presentation. I screwed that up.
Water has not been decreasing compared to number 1 and number 3 up until today. However, there is now the decreasing of the water in Unit 2, for which efforts has been made to increase the level of water in the unit number 2.
Well, you can't get near number 2. You can't increase the water to number 2 because reactor 1 and reactor 3 lost their entire inventories on both sides of it, right? Container of number 2 reactor no longer sealed to French Nuclear Safety Authority. Well, the French nuclear industry are just despicable people. You can't get a job unless you're nothing. There's nothing personal. That's just who they happen to be, right? Fukushima tapes. This is a suicide corpse. We can't vent Unit 2. It's not. This is a suicide corpse. It's supposed to say this is the suicide corpse. They were supposed to go in and commit suicide to vent reactor 2, but they couldn't. But they got lethal doses from reactor 1 and reactor 3. This is like the end. No, well, it wasn't, right? Because released recording ends soon after.
And as for the incident at unit number 2,
Incident.
there were people injured. From total, we understand 11 people. 4 of them are related to the self-defense forces, and whom injury level is not so severe. And among the remaining 7 people who are related to the Tokyo Electric Power Company, TEPCO, one person was rather seriously injured but conscious, and for the other 6 we do not have detailed information here. And as for the number 1 and number 2, number 1 and number 3, as I said, particularly after today's incident at number 3, we do not record any significant increase in the figures that we are monitoring in order to measure any possible radioactivities in the site.
Let me do that again. So monitoring radioactivity in the site. I'll get it right. Well, ultimately in 2013, this is what the site looked like. So there's no doubt, like the evidence I showed you already, there was no doubt they knew the difference. So when reactor 1 popped, yeah, that's reactor 3, that's game over. You can't get near the reactors. You're dropping around 9 reactor cores, one of them running, all over that site. There's no fuel, there's no water to protect you, there's no containment, there's no 8 feet of cement to protect anybody, right? You need 8 feet of cement to protect you, so to speak. This is reactor 1, and see the way that blows now the reason this plumes, it expands, look at the plume, it grows, it never stops growing, it eventually covers the entire planet. And because the fuel is splitting atoms, everything you see there is splitting atoms and replicating every second, and it never stops. And so when you look ahead 20 days or something like that, here's what it looks like. It's really something to look at. So this was the French government of cesium-137 at 1 million to 10 million atoms, 10 million atoms per cubic meter of air. This is going to be based on 31 days. You're approaching 20 days right now, and 20 days of radioactive fallout. This is the French government. This is a spike. But they already knew this is what happened. You know, why did they build the reactors on fault lines, a 3,000-year legacy of massive tsunamis? You're right on the tectonic plates. You're within 70 kilometers of the tectonic plates. You're built right on the tectonic plates, right? And then the prevailing winds, we know, blow straight to North America. Think about a snowstorm. That's a snowstorm coming out of Japan. Think of it that way for a second. The snow never melts and the snow never goes away. And it never stops snowing. That's what Fukushima actually is. We're talking about 36 reactor cores. And so they went in.
So we do not record it.
So they're claiming there was no increase of radiation, but it was massive after reactor 1 on Saturday, right? Okay, here we go again. And so these are difficult topics for people to appreciate the law. I'm going to try to cover as many laws as I can with documentation, but I can't cover everything. I can talk about it, but I can't just bring you information for everything. You'll never get through the video. And we have probably 60 or 70 of these videos we got to get through. Well, it's actually more than that.
We do not record any significant increase in that regard.
So you said there was no increase in radiation. Pretty ruthless, eh? Just bear with me. I'm going to set up the next. And now I got 2 nuclear shows ready to go that I might never get done, but I got no choice to be doing because they're really important shows. And how do you find time, right, to cover all of this, Japan? I just want to give you some examples of what was happening. And some of these dates they're telling the story later, right? Think about this one here, Minamasoma, which is one of the communities that was evacuated. 10 million atoms of just cesium, they're only acknowledging cesium. Possibly 20,000 atoms a kilogram. You got to multiply that by 66.6 to get a square meter. These are catastrophic numbers. They moved them out of there because it was much higher than this, and it ain't just cesium. And it's just a ruthless, hateful industry that it victimizes every species, all 8 million species, and we're just one of them. And we're all in a bad way after 80 years of this industry having their way with you. It's time to confront them a little bit.
And as for the on the unit number 3, we have had the effort to put water into that unit, and
which is another law. You couldn't put water. Let me give you. So the original picture, now reactor 4 hasn't blown up yet. That's the next day. But you can see reactor 3. And when you think about reactor 3, you got to realize this was 9 reactor cores. One of them was a plutonium mixed oxide reactor core.
After the hydrogen explosion today,
there was a pressure
we
explosion.
heard that activities has been suspended. However, the effort...
You can't keep up with all the lies they're telling, right? So they were putting water in, but it's suspended. You weren't doing, reactor 2 was on the other side that way. You weren't doing anything. On the other side of that was reactor 1. Right, you had reactor 1 on one side explode. Or reactor 3, I got them in the wrong order. Which I just showed you reactor 3. And on the other side of reactor 2 is reactor 1. So how are you, how are you going to fix something when that's happening?
The effort is being made to restart the injection of water into the unit number 3. We are...
So reactor 3 had exploded that morning. right? It exploded. There was no way you can go near it, let alone put water back into it. And that's why we got that particular poll tonight, to hopefully direct people's attention to what's really going on here. And the reason they're covered up is, like, clearly this plan was already created so that when this did happen, because you built it right under tectonic plates, it was a reactor meant to melt down.
Still waiting for the updated information from the people from Nuclear and Industrial
they're
Safety Agency.
To the party.
But that is probably what I have to say at the beginning of this briefing.
I think they're there now, maybe.
Okay. Now the Q&A session, and we will receive questions from friends of the Foreign Press Corps first.
Friends of the.
Would you please raise your hand, and when recognized, please give us your name and affiliation before.
Give us your name and radiation? Is that what he said? That was the strangest thing I've ever heard. I must have misheard that. Fuel rods in number 2 reactor were fully exposed March the 14th, same day. So they had reactor 3 exploded, and then reactor 4 exploded on March the 14th. It's absurd. It's absurd. Catastrophic event.
You ask a question.
And instead of warning the population, saying, hey, we're going to have to live indoors for a couple of years, that's not going to look very good. There'll be no nuclear renaissance after that one. So the nuclear industry is so influential, so powerful, that the whole planet decided, and all your media and all your universities, administrations, and all this are in on this. They know the difference. Back then, and they went along with it. Because the United Nations is controlling them all. It's horrifying what they got done to us now.
Please.
So he's asking the audience. I'm going to play with the audio here, dear.
Anthony Rowley, Singapore Business Times. And this is obviously a very critical situation. What do you think will be the next steps? I mean, the situation seems to be only...
Like, the question should be, what do you mean, what do you think the next steps... Right, they should be asserting what happened. That reporter should be saying, reactor 1 is clearly a meltdown, reactor 3 is clearly a meltdown, and you lost all the inventories of reactor cores that were stored at the top of the buildings. There should have been some type of assertion, right? Instead of this chick...
Partly stabilized. What do you have to do? What has to be done to stabilize it to the point where...
Well, you can't stabilize it. You can't stabilize that. He's seen that. He's at the press club. I apologize. I get a little bit anxious. It's okay. I'll grow up here.
One can say that a calamity has been avoided. And
whoa,
as far as...
What? One can say a calamity has been avoided. Did he see the same buildings? Just hang on here. I'm just falling behind a little bit on my pictures I need. Because I haven't listened to this forever, right? I was listening to this evening, and I blew up laughing, and I was like, well, that's not going to work. Because, you got these reactions to the laws, and the best way to poke holes in the law is to laugh appropriately at the law, right? Hang on, these people are insane, eh? The story is so crazy, it's easier to pretend that it's not real if you're pro-nuclear. I smurfed that up, did I? That's not where I want it to be, but let's look at this building a little on its own there. Like, the damage there is, that's extraordinary. It's extraordinary.
One can say that a calamity has been avoided. And as far as cooperation with...
one can say a calamity has been avoided, and then this little snotty laugh that he does.
One can say that a calamity has been avoided.
Well, he's seen that before the press conference, like everybody else.
Other nationalities, experts on nuclear power are concerned, are they actually involved at the power station, or are they simply giving advice from a distance, as it were?
Sorry, could you repeat the second part of your question?
There are various international experts here in Japan that have come from other countries. Are they actually involved on the site in Fukushima, or are they just giving advice from a distance? I'm not quite clear about that.
No, they were in Tokyo, right? The Nuclear Regulatory Commission actually came to Japan, but they went to Tokyo, 240 kilometers away. Because Medusa had lost its 8 reactor cores. You couldn't drag them there to claw your
Other nationalities, experts on nuclear power are concerned, are they actually involved at the power station, or are they simply giving advice from a distance, as it were?
He's writing, make sure to take him to sushi bar tonight.
Sorry, could you repeat the second part of your question?
She was doing the same thing.
Various international experts here in Japan that have come from other countries. Are they actually involved on the site in...
It's really interesting that the reporters have better microphones than the scumbags behind the desk.
In Fukushima, or are they just giving advice from a distance? I'm not quite clear about that.
I'm going to cut that. You got to realize the tsunami debris, you couldn't do nothing. You couldn't bring equipment in there. You couldn't, right? You had to bring in a big bulldozer to plow everything out of the way but it's lethal doses everywhere. Anybody was there was eventually harmed significantly.
As for what has to be done, the very important thing is to cool the fuel rod assemblies, which actually, if I go back to...
is to cool the fuel rod assemblies. Ernie Gunnarsson made the racks for those assemblies. He says it never happened. Everything's totally cool. The assemblies were at the top of the building. So this is reactor 3 fuel pool in 2019, April 23rd. There's the stump of the building. The reactor fuel pool is 100 feet above that stump. Right here is about 120 feet above the stump. So they were laying the groundwork for the law. Think about what this looked like in the next day. This is what you were looking at. There was no building left. This was no longer a 19-story, 65-meter, 190-foot building.
The point, right, where this earthquake happened. At the moment when this earthquake happened, which was actually a huge magnitude now it is said 9.0, which means that it is the largest ever earthquake, at least scientifically observed in this country. And I understand that this magnitude counts among the probably top 5 or so of the internationally recorded earthquake. At the time of the earthquake, the immediate action to stop the operation of the reactors was taken. That is the immediate stop of the operating reactors at the first point. So the operation at that time has been immediately shut down. What we are now going through is the phase of cooling down the units which have been operating at the time. And during the cooling situation, we are facing difficulties in some of the units as I described. So the most important thing...
You could, like reactor 1 and 2 didn't have fuel pools to cool down anymore. Reactor 3 either detonated as they were given a press conference or just after it.
Is to try to put enough water into these units in order to cool these units as quickly as possible. And measures have been taken.
But you can't put water in the reactor when the reactor doesn't exist anymore. Like you got a tsunami that has ran through the site. So they made it up, right? They pretended everything was fine and no conversations will ever take place. The reactor was gone right away. When she was given a press conference, this is what it looked like. There was only a stump left.
By experts to do so as quickly as
never went
possible.
to Fukushima.
As for your second question, I think it is best refer that question to our Nuclear and Industrial Safety Agency people when they arrive.
They're on the way.
But we understand that there are, of course, constant flow of information going out from the experts to international experts. But I'm not quite aware whether there are international experts on the site or not.
Can I just quickly ask you a follow-up? Is there a contingency plan? If the cooling fails for any reason, what happens next? I mean, is there a contingency plan for sealing the whole thing off in some way? I mean...
my goodness, so his job is to play Mr. Innocent, right? Send us people who don't mind dying. You know, next time we have a nuclear meltdown, they should just jack all the journalists at these press conferences and take them to the nuclear meltdown. Maybe the news will finally tell us the truth after that. Probably won't, though, right? Send us people who don't mind dying. That was on the 14th, too. It came out in December the 15th.
What happens next?
Yes. What I'd like to stress is that the containment vessel continues to hold quite tightly.
You're not going to heaven. Ignore reactor 4. It hasn't blown up yet to your left. The one behind me, though, that's what she's talking about. That's what it looked like when she told that, said the containment vessel, which is at the top of the reactors that don't exist, is holding.
And as we progress with our activity of cooling all the units, we are making some progress towards putting enough water into some of units. Of course, some of the units.
Well, like when the first reactor blew up, that was the end of it. You can't put water getting near it. Forget reactor 4 blows up the next day. Reactor 2, so reactor 1 blowing up, reactor 3 blew up, reactor 1 is this way, over that way. Bear with me. Well, have a look at this for a second. Despite the fact that this is just day 3, This is the 14th, this press conference. I want you to think about what day 20 looked like of Neptunium-239 dispersal. That's covering the entire planet. So there's no way they didn't understand this was going on. They chose not to tell you. They absolutely unequivocally knew this is what it looks like in 20 days. And by the way, Neptunium-239 decays to plutonium-239 in 2.5 days. So there's already one decay gone in. This is day 3. So it's already decayed at least once. 50% of that had turned to plutonium.
Have been experiencing difficulties in it. However, what we are trying to do is to go through this situation in a controlled manner and to contain.
It's not you're not going to use the word nuclear meltdown. You won't have a job in the morning, right?
Any further worsening of the situation, and I understand that in the face of this difficult situation, the experts on the ground have been implementing.
There is no experts on the ground. Once reactor 1 blew up, let alone reactor 3, once that happened, the experts were never on that site when reactor 1 blew up. They knew it was going to blow up because it didn't get its water that was necessary.
All possible measures they can find, and to trying to make progress towards better situation. So to go back to your first point, what we have been doing is that we understand that we have been continuing with the situation in a contained manner, and we would like to.
Well, you can't contain. You can't use the word contain when it looks like this. I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was going to get I fixed that. It should be a bit better for you. So when that blows up, you ain't containing jack shit. There's nothing but the homeless and the destitute and the victims of society, immigrants who don't speak the language. And if you're wearing a paper suit, it means you don't know what you're doing. They burn 7,000 of them every day in incinerators.
As for now, the situation we are witnessing is certainly difficult, but all measures have been taken to cope with that situation.
I wish somebody was keeping track. I should have said it at the beginning of the show. Keep track of how many times they say situation. That's not a situation. You got people sheltering in houses 20 kilometers away, 20 miles away. 20 kilometers, geometric, right? You got 19,000 people that are dead. You had a tsunami wash away 1,000 miles of your coastline. But this is about the nuclear. This is press conference. Next person. So they're taking questions from the media.
Reuters. One quick question, and then a bit of a longer one. The quick question is just, do you have the details of the Chinese rescue personnel that have come out? Where are they, and what specifically are they doing? And my
Chinese rescuers, where are they? What are they doing? Well, they're not at Fukushima, I can tell you that much.
A broader question is, with the shutdown of the reactors in Fukushima, what percentage of Japan's...
This is not a shutdown. These are nuclear meltdowns of the worst kind. This is absurdness we're talking about. What a despicable group of professionals that journalists are.
Electricity capacity has been lost because of that. And how besides the temporary blackouts that Tokyo Denryoku is doing right now, what other power sources and to what extent are you turning, such as hydropower or thermal power? Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question. I'd like to respond to your question about Chinese assistance. My understanding is that the Chinese rescue team arrived in Haneda yesterday around 12:30. And it is also my understanding that the team consists of 15 personnel, and they were to arrive at Ofunato city of Iwate Prefecture. Ofunato of Iwate Prefecture late last evening. And I understand that they were to initiate their activity early this morning. Well, I don't have precise information as to the specific area of their activity.
As for your second question, according to the question is not only how much percentage is lost, rather the question is within the area of the kind of the responsibility of each electric power company, how much power can be provided in terms of the daily need. That also goes back to a rather basic system in Japan in which we have a rather different type of electricity frequencies in the eastern half of Japan and western half of Japan. So, for example, we understand that within the eastern area, for example, between Tokyo Electric Power Company, TEPCO, and Tohoku Electric Power Company, it could be possible to divert electricity in one area to the other. But beyond this east-west line, it would be technical difficulties to provide a lot of electricity. We have means to convert that difference, but I understand the amount of electricity that can be provided beyond east-west is rather limited. And what happened today is that as of today, the estimate by the Tokyo Electric Power Company is that it may be that up to 10 million kilowatt deficiency might occur. As for today, it is said that they can provide up to 37 million kilowatt today. However, they estimated that today's demand might go up to 41 million kilowatt. Actually, I think what happened today, the difference was not so big in the sense that we did not have, in some of the regions which were expected to have controlled blackout, we did not have such measures taken. So it depends on the level of the possible electricity supply each day And in terms of what can be provided, that should be measured in terms of the demand on that particular day, because we cannot store the electricity so easily. So it fluctuates from day to day.
Well, I mean, is there like Japan has 10% less or 15% or 8% or less?
Yeah, on that point, probably I refer to my.
He asked, did you have like 10% less energy or 15% less energy? I know you probably couldn't hear it unless you got headphones on.
Colleagues who just arrived, but all his colleagues. Sorry.
Oh man, she wet her pants that time, I think. You could just hear the tone in her voice, right? So this must be the nuclear whack jobs. Now remember, reactor 4, the first one, hasn't melted down yet. Neither number 2 melts down later that day, and it has an explosion. They lose their entire inventories.
So let me just.
Oh, a little sneaky. You read from the book. Anybody speak Japanese? I have to use AI to try to figure this stuff out.
Sorry, we just. Yes.
Now I'm playing with the volume because everybody got a different volume level.
We are actually having not one but 2 experts that are joining us right now.
Woohoo! She's so happy. We're so happy. We're happy long time. We eat pizza tonight. Some sake. And don't forget, reactor 1 detonated and reactor 3 detonated. So how the hell are you going to get to reactor 2? How does that work? Where's the magic?
最初のやつは何だか、電力総量の何%もしないとか、今これを元にしては説明をしたんですけど。
Oh, I would love to know what they're saying.
総量の何%もしない。これが何%なんて。これがというよりは今回の事故によって総量の何%もしない。
Last told us, don't say nuclear meltdown.
4100のうち1000じゃないですか。
There's the chicken eggs right now. Look, 3 of them.
これは東電の管内だけなんですね。
There's the guy behind him.
いくらかですから、もし今この場で分からなければ後ほど。
Anybody says the word nuclear meltdown?
発電総量の何%に当たるかということです。おそらく1割ぐらいだと思います。
Lose their job. Got to go to Fukushima to work their retirement package. And they told some whack of lies already, isn't that something? No morals.
Just to answer to your question that we couldn't answer. Yes, up until now, there are the international experts are not on site, and as for the percentage of the electricity lost in total Japanese production, they will go back.
She blew over that one really quick. The nuclear experts are not on the site. Gee, I wonder why that could be. What could possibly be the catalyst for them not being at that site, I wonder?
To check the exact figure and come back to you.
How much electricity she's talking about, right?
It was said at a briefing at the U.S. Embassy today that some European embassies had advised their nationals to leave Japan.
Well, that's a really good one because we have a lot of those headlines where different countries. Just bear with me because it's slightly complicated keeping everything working. And when you're chopping the video, because I'm chopping the video constantly, you run into a lot more problems. Just bear with me, do some house cleaning here. We're almost through it. Now, I doubt if we're going to get through this press conference tonight. And there's lots of very, very interesting things going on. And
And also, there was a report in the afternoon
that's not it. I'm sorry.
that the level.
My question, there seems to be some confusion over what would happen if the situation gets worse at Fukushima for any reason. Is there a system of...
How does it get worse? Like, when I say you got reactor 1 blew up, right? Reactor 3 blew up, does it get any worse? It means you can't get near the site, right? Is what I'm... Like, think... You got a tsunami ran through the site. The tsunami rips everything apart. It wrecked the country. It like a big wood chipper went right through it. You know, this happened, and they knew the radioactive fallout. In fact, they picked up 30 million one-ton bags of radioactive fallout. They absolutely unequivocally knew, the experts that never went to the site knew that was going to be a lifelong issue, right?
My question, there seems to be some confusion over what would happen if the situation gets worse at Fukushima for any reason. Is there a system of warnings in place that would be given, or would you widen the evacuation area? What would happen if the situation didn't respond favorably to your...
Well, you should leave like 30 kilometers of the site. That didn't work out. What's going on here? I don't know. I don't know what to make of that. Bear with me 1 second. Yeah, it was supposed to be this... I know. That's some corny ass shit, Dana. Yeah, you know how it is.
Attempts to cool.
Let me play that first part again, I'm sorry.
My question, there seems to be some confusion over what would happen if the situation gets worse at Fukushima for any reason. Is there a system of warnings in place that would be given, or would you widen the evacuation area? What would happen if the situation didn't respond favorably to your attempts to cool?
Like, these are not journalists. They're writers, they're AP, they're New York Times and everything, yes, but they're not journalists. They're basically they're Japan's all the way, right? They're as Japan as you can get.
To your question, I'd like first of all to stress that what is now being done in terms of the distance from the Fukushima Daiichi power plant is that the decision has been made to evacuate people from the 20-kilometer radius zone. And for the Fukushima Daiichi power plant, from the 10-kilometer radius zone. And these measures has been taken in order to allow enough level of confidence in the safety of the people in the region. And, well, if there is any new development that may require any change to this situation, that will be announced by the government. However, we do not have at this time any reason to change the current situation. Of course, all the effort is being made to monitor the situation very closely. And you may have noticed that the Chief Cabinet Secretary, Mr. Edano, has been making very frequent press briefing.
Yeah, he never
sometimes,
shut up,
especially on the nuclear issue.
Scumbag.
And we are, and our colleagues have been trying to provide the information as quickly as possible and as accurately as possible. So please rest assured that if ever any change might become necessary, that will be announced immediately. However, I would like to...
if anything changed, it's wild, really, because just before the press conference started, a few hours before that, this happened. Reactor 1 done the same thing 2 days before. Just like, if you look up 3 Mile Island, it's very tiny compared to this, for just single reactor, for instance, is tiny. And look at the prominence that got. But at the press conference on that day, this got no prominence. There was nothing got out. Everything was contained. And now, right, you compromise humanity. The people of your country don't know to get out of the way, to stay indoors, to tape up their windows and their doors. They have no chance. Because the nuclear industry is above everybody and doesn't care about anybody, doesn't have any kind of commitment to safety in the least ways. They have zilch, nothing whatsoever right to exist. They have betrayed us in the most wicked and uncompromising way imaginable.
Stress again that we are at this moment not witnessing the reason to change the current measure.
I just wanted to follow up again on the rebalancing of power requirements, because I spoke with somebody from, what is it called? I'm sorry, the Dendyoku Jigyo Renmei or Rengo or something. I'm sorry, I don't have the exact name. Who said that power is being transferred, extra power is being taken from other sources, thermal and hydro, and he didn't have details on that. And I just wondered if anybody does have details, can tell us how much power, etc. Also, I just didn't quite understand what you were saying about the 37 million kilowatts and etc. You were saying that could it could reach that amount, but I'm not sure if that's, what is the normal capacity of those plants by comparison with the figures you gave. Thank you.
Yes, sorry. When I explained the capacity, I was talking about the capacity of the electricity that TEPCO can provide today. According to their estimate, what TEPCO could provide today, so the maximum supply that TEPCO could provide today was estimated at 37 million kilowatt, against the possible maximum demand for today of 41 million kilowatt. And if you look at these two figures, you would say that there is no difference of 10 million kilowatt. It is only 4 million. But it would depend on the current situation of the demand, how they use the electricity hour by hour. So it was estimated that at the maximum, 10 million kilowatt shortage might happen beginning today. So it is not only for today. And as for the measures to divert more electricity from other sources, I think it would be good if we check that fact and come back to you later, if there is someone else who can answer that question right now. Otherwise, we will come back to you later on that detail too, with the figure, total figure.
I think the Nuclear and Industry Safety Agency colleagues have arrived, and they are ready to explain to you, maybe in brief manner, initial explanation.
So today we prepared some materials. One of them are already on our website, NISA, and now, how can I say, going to be on our homepage. And another one is some kind of a fact sheet concerning this Tokai Pacific earthquake and Fukushima nuclear power plant event. So at first, we'd like to very briefly explain our press release document.
I'm very sorry for being late. Also, we'd like to show our appreciation to have this opportunity to explain this situation. I'd like to explain briefly about the seismic damage information as of 07:30 today. Sorry for this time that is a bit late. However, we need to translate, so please allow me to show this data. This paper is just facts data. So if you want to know about the process or more detailed situation, you can see another paper. Receiving the big earthquake.
The big earthquake.
Some of nuclear power units are affected. There are three.
Some of the nuclear power plants are affected. Bear with me, get my bearings again. Just hang on a second. So these are the nuclear experts from the government. Their job is to do the same thing as she had done in the center, and she's in the center for a particular reason. She's the most ruthless one so far. So the tsunami, this is Fukushima plant site itself. The Daini is the exact same. So if this happened at Fukushima, 10 kilometers up the coastline to the south, which is this way, that way, same thing would have been happening, right? So it's a tsunami. So a tsunami, because we don't have the detailed pictures. We have of everywhere else but the nuclear site, we don't. But you can imagine the tsunami, when it's coming in at 600 miles per hour. Then it rises up, it slows down to 300 and 400 miles per hour. And as it starts sweeping through everything, it's still going to be traveling at 150 miles per hour. You can't outdrive it. And the debris field, you can see the red is fatalities and the yellow is missing. And so you can see the coastline, incredible amount of coastline, up to some places 5 and 6 kilometers inland. Because you had the tsunami after tsunami traveling on top of each other, because you built the reactors on the tectonic plates. So the meltdowns, the explosions are confirmations of the meltdown. We have lots more. But like the infrastructure now is gone. It's gone. There's nothing functional. And each of these sites are dependent on external power. I know it's a lot to take in, but bear with me.
nuclear power stations around the area damaged by this big earthquake. The first one is Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power station, as you all know. And second one is Fukushima Daiichi power station. And third one is Onagawa nuclear power station.
Onagawa.
Also, there are
north.
13 nuclear power units in these 13 stations.
Reactors.
In the first nuclear power station, that is Fukushima Daiichi, there are 6 nuclear power units. As for these 6 units, 3 of them were under periodic inspection outage, and the last 3 units have automatically shut down. That is unit 1, 2, 3. And the data or readings at monitoring points is, you can see the next page. I want to show the highest level of monitoring post, and you can see 680 microsievert per hour at monitoring point 2, and the time was 3:50 today. That is this morning.
So that's a pretty dishonest statement. Reactor 3 blew up and ejected its reactor cores on this site. So to suggest that it's less than a millisievert, which is 1,000 microsieverts, there's 1,000 millisieverts is sievert. 3 sieverts is considered a lethal dose over a short period of time, 10 or 15 minutes exposure. In this environment, it is a hell of a lot less. This plume keeps replicating itself and has covered the whole planet in less than 20 days.
Early morning today, the data was 680 microsievert per hour.
At Fukushima, it's absurd to suggest it's an ugly thing of this industry. It shows this complete inability to have any kind of compassion for humanity and the species, because radiation is so bad because there's no species on the planet that have an autoimmune trigger that can defend against this.
However,
so it affects everything.
I need to explain that after that there was an explosion at the unit 3. So we need to understand this data is that which is before the explosion today.
Reactor 1 had already exploded, folks.
I'd like to report concerning other modification that is mentioned in 4. There was no fire report notified to NISA. However, after the occurrence of earthquake, there were many chronologies and process, and those will.
Everybody got their papers, try to catch up.
Be explained later in more detail.
Propaganda papers, right?
Let me explain the situation of Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power station.
So the Daiichi plant is 10 kilometers south. Daiichi workers needed emergency room after being at Unit 4 at Daiichi. You were unable to decontaminate the exposed people. The plants are not safe. So Daiichi had a major event. And I can't even remember PBS's, the one-armed bandit's name. What's his name? Miles O'Brien? I'll get to that over the next few
second
days.
area damaged by earthquake. There are 4 nuclear power units in this station. And all of these 4 units have automatically shut down. Also, readings at monitoring point is 0.042 microsievert at the highest monitoring point. That is, you can see 0.042.
So, like, it's equivalent to eating a banana, is what he's saying to you. Like, they couldn't decontaminate the people that went to reactor 4. So saying Daiichi had literally no emissions whatsoever is an absolutely absurd line.
In monitoring point 5, this is the highest
number.
Data, highest value of data.
Well, just the Fukushima Daiichi plant would have contaminated the living shit out of that place by day 3, right? Because Saturday reactor 1 detonated.
Then not so high level compared to those of Fukushima Daiichi. Also, this is report concerning as of modification. We cannot find fire, and that is reported to NISA. And lastly, I want to mention about Onagawa Nuclear Power Station. There are 3 units. Also, these all 3 units have automatically in
there we go. The core melts and burns into the earth. Well, you can see they got ejected right out of the reactor buildings. And reactor 1 and 2 might be a little bit different, but reactor 1 lost the fuel pools. The cores melt the rocks and become diluted, slowing the chain reaction. No, it's 9,000 degree Fahrenheit temperature. The rocks will disappear at 3,000. And so they're atomized and aerosoled, ionized and irradiated and released as radioactive particles that'll hunt down some species or human and destroy their health. So I can't leave that comment there because that's not accurate. And it's important not to leave that impression when I work really hard to tell the story and explain it. Let's keep going.
I want to mention about Onagawa Nuclear Power Station. There are 3 units. Also, these all 3 units have automatically shut down. And the data monitoring point 2 was approximately 10,000 nano. Wait a moment, sorry.
10,000 nano.
Gray. Sorry for that. Gray per hour.
So did he say grays? Because every time they have a nuclear accident, they'll start changing the way they describe radiation. Like microsievert becomes milligrays. And it's very confusing for anybody, even the experts. But it's a very dishonest thing. We're going to pick up tomorrow night, right here. There's 37 minutes left, and it's going to get complicated. So tomorrow night we're going to pick up, if I don't do because I have 2 package shows ready to go that are kind of important to get to, but we might pick up here tomorrow night instead. I would imagine we'll pick up there tomorrow night and finish out this particular video. Like, you can't do nothing in this environment. You can't plug reactors in or reactor cores in or anything like that. And we had average of 20 people on my page, and all of a sudden it dipped down to 4. And now it's the highest we've seen after that was 10. Did the nuclear industry worldwide, if we only got 10 people on my site, how do I get 35 votes? How do I have 34 likes? Did the nuclear industry worldwide conspire March the 14, 2011 to hide the loss of the Fukushima Reactor 3 fuel pools? Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Now, James had put out a Christmas, and so it's not too late to play that video. It's Meltdown Queen. And what he done was he's playing, he got like a, well, I'll play the video for you in a second. But it's very good quality. It's very important, like the way the story is told. Because you can see that, like, it works very well for what we're seeing now. You notice how these people are completely disconnected. How they're completely disingenuous. Completely and 100% dishonest the entire time. And it's so subtle, and there's so much of it, you can't challenge every single lie, because you'll never get through the friggin' video. Excuse the language, but you'll never get through the video. So suggesting that they never found nothing on the site from multiple, there was no increase of radiation despite the fact that you ejected 9 reactor cores into the environment. 9 reactor cores. The fuel pools were full of reactor cores, and I played that explanation earlier for you. But everybody's aware of that. And in fact, every nuclear scientist on the planet, every professor on the planet in the nuclear industry, every second, third year, fourth year nuclear student would have known that fuel pools and the reactor cores were gone, but none of them have ever spoken out about it. None of them has ever come out because they're trying to keep a job in the nuclear industry. So they have to participate in that lie. But a lot of those people are the inbreeds of the inbreeds of the inbreeds of the inbreeds, all the way back to the inception of the nuclear industry. That's the legacy of this inbreeding amongst the nuclear propaganda machines. And their children grow up knowing these jobs exist to come out and lie. And they go to university in incredible degrees paid for by the taxpayers. And you're going to meet a couple of them that this is your typical Christmas at the pro-nuclear communities. Employees, the very pro and deeply entrenched, which is you're talking about millions of people. Their job is to lie for the industry. And I put a link in it below, but you won't find it for 10 hours after the video because my comments will disappear. I do have links there currently, right? But the comments will disappear. That's the site. And here's the video, Meltdown Queen Christmas Special. And it's a really interesting, well thought out look into Meltdown Queen Christmas. We'll see everybody on the next show. I got no volume. Hang on a second. I forgot to have my headphones on. We'll get there. I turn it off sometimes so I don't accidentally. I just want to make sure it's in high quality. If it's higher, the better. We'll see everybody tomorrow night, hopefully. I apologize, I'm a little bit off my game tonight. I'll get back on tomorrow night. Sorry, I had the volume too loud. I'll get on it. Lots of hidden little treasures in the walls.
Oh no. Bert, are you awake? Mommy needs your help.
You know what to do, Bert. Treat this like a minor liquid waste spill. I need to get ready.
Thanks, Bert. I have so much to do to get ready. Why don't you meet me downstairs? Oh, and Merry Christmas, Bert.
Hey, baby.
Another Christmas, all thanks to nuclear energy. People forget that. It's basically the sun. In fact, nuclear energy is reason for Christmas. If only I can find a way to convince the public that Jesus would be pro-nuclear himself. Someday. It's so quiet. It's like you can almost hear an atom move. And outside, the world feels new.
Bert the Jackalope. Mommy is coming down. Nuclear Christmas is finally here. I need coffee, though.
Okay, power on. Brute. Come on. Why won't you just start? Forsmark nuclear power plant went into temporary cold shutdown. Oh well, that's only temporary.
Try your board, Bert. Go ahead.
Season's greetings. Reminder. Neutron embrittlement can make reactor vessels as fragile as holiday glass ornaments.
Try another one, Bert. Go ahead.
Holiday transport notice. Radioactive waste should travel like Santa's most precious presents. Secured tight, labeled bright, and kept upright. Use certified containers, escort vehicles, and tracked routes. Your reindeer for the sleigh.
Transuranic waste lasts longer than the brightest string lights, tens of thousands of Christmases. Keep it sealed, tracked, and marked with durable symbols so future generations know it's no stocking stuffer.
When transporting radioactive waste this winter, secure casks as tightly as gifts on a sleigh. Federal rules require visible placards and escort vehicles with flashing lights.
Fuel rods fresh from the reactor stay hotter than a Yule log.
Fuel rods are recycled to recover usable uranium and plutonium. The leftover high-level waste is sealed away like presents in a lead-lined safe, never to be unwrapped by untrained elves. whenever a frosty night brings a little radioactive sparkle your way, remember, stay cozy indoors, tune to your local emergency channel, and let the experts handle the sleigh bells and shielding. Keep a kit with batteries, water, and those merry little potassium iodide tablets close at hand.
If there's a radiation release this holiday season, stay cozy indoors. Close windows and doors, tune into official updates, and keep those holiday spirits glowing.
Fun fact. A single ripe banana gives you roughly 1/100th of a microsievert of radiation. That's about the same dose as keeping this little plutonium snowflake ornament on your tree for a day. It's called the banana equivalent dose. Proof that a little radiation is part of the season. The nuclear fuel cycle wraps its gifts with care. Uranium is mined and refined, then carefully packaged, just as you wrap a present to power the season's lights. Christmas, safety has the starring role. Verify every assembly returns to the pool and confirm control rods are pulled down. Missing one is like leaving a bulb out of the string. Everything dims. Keep spent fuel labeled and shielded. We wrap gifts, not hazards. Oh, when you're writing a licensee event report for the NRC, think like Santa making his list. Check it twice and be clear about what happened, when, and how your plant responded. Include dates, times, and corrective actions. Wrap those details up neat so reviewers can open it like a perfectly wrapped present. Our cleanup crews need willing hands, and we open our arms to the overlooked and forgotten. A warm bunk, 3 square meals, and a task that keeps the lights humming, sweeping away yesterday's mishap so tomorrow's tree can shine a little brighter.
That must be little nuclear Johnny. Why don't you get the door, Bert? I need to get more coffee.
Merry Christmas, Aunt Mel. Feels like this year slipped out of containment.
Come here.
Miss Aunt Mel, you turned the place into a glowing masterpiece.
Come here. The warning symbol theme came together better than I expected.
It looks amazing.
The inspector has that effect on people?
He makes it sound like Christmas music.
Donnie, tell me what your favorite subject is in nuclear engineering school.
Reactor dynamics, at least it was. Watching them work, though, I'm starting to fall for radiation detection. Can I ask you something a bit serious?
Of course, what's on your mind?
What do you think about trying to deploy small modular reactors by July 2026?
Absolutely. The first modules are being welded already, the sites are poured, and the regulators expect to sign off this spring.
It's messy, sure, but that's how change works. You staying in the fight is how it gets better.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
I like the sound of that.
Merry Christmas, Mel.
Merry Christmas, Johnny.
Merry Christmas, everybody. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.